Well, this is the Church of Splendor after all, so seems like it's high time that I stick you with some Latin. I've been writing about art all week long. Last Sunday I said I wasn't going to write about art until I heard a question from someone because apparently no one is interested. And I ended up writing about art all week long anyway, to my benefit, if to no one else's. My thinking is clearer today than it was last Sunday. And it put me in mind of this Latin. It's something that I've lived by all my life, long before I learned the Latin. We'll work our way back to English from the Latin in order to understand how this particular idea drives me, probably drives you too, drives everybody who gets anything driven and gets anything done. But the Latin is si laberaris vinces. Si laberaris vinces. Oh, it is impossible to say. This is the most difficult phrase I've ever learned in Latin. Si laberaris vinces. Which in a straightforward English translation would come out, if you work, you will win. If you work, you will win. This is something everyone should be telling himself all the time, but if you have children, you should be leaning on them about that idea all the time. If you work, you will win. But that isn't really literal translation of the Latin. Latin is a complicated grammar, and in learning Latin grammar, you will learn English grammar, which is in fact even more complicated than Latin grammar. But si laberaveres vinces is a subjunctive form. This may be the only place on earth where you ever hear about the subjunctive voice. It is a subjunctive form, and the name of the subjunctive, that particular subjunctive, is the condition of a future more vivid, a future more vivid. And so to literally translate that into English, we would do better by saying, if you will have worked, you will have won, which is two future conditionals. In other words, essentially two subjunctive conditions paired together. And so in thinking about it that way, we can see that there is a time-like difference between these two conditions. Otherwise, it would make no sense. That one is describing a process and the other is describing the end state condition, the realization of that process over time. So a much more comprehensive English translation would be, if you will have worked all along, you will have won in the end. If you will have worked all along, you will have won in the end. And then we can see that time-like separation, that on the one hand, you're going to be working in the future, not immediately, but in the future, but you're going to be working rather continuously in the future. And the consequence of that continuous effort will be a subsequent victory farther off in the future. And obviously, this is easy to understand if we talk about tilling the soil. I made a joke about bringing in the sheaves earlier this week. But bringing in the sheaves refers to a verse in Proverbs that is very much about agriculture. Another one that I really love from the Bible is from the Nazarene. You cast your bread upon the waters and it will come back 1,000-fold. Future more vivid. Cast my bread upon the waters. In other words, lay down bait for fish, trusting that the fish are there and that they'll come along and grab onto that bait. And when they do, I'll be able to catch them in my nets. My bread cast upon the waters has come back 1,000-fold. This is a way of understanding it as a metaphor. Many metaphors are expressed in the future more vivid. But that's just a wonderful metaphor for illustrating the time-like process of working toward a victory. And so a perfect English translation of si laberaveris vinces, perfect English translation in 4 simple English words, no Latinate words at all. Hard work pays off. Hard work pays off. Again, something you should be telling yourself all the time and something you should be leaning on your children about. Hard work pays off. Number one, you lean on that idea when they're not working, but when they win, if you will have worked, you will have won. When they win, that's when you say, look, see, there's proof. Hard work pays off. See how the world works? Hard work pays off. This is a wonderful idea. The future more vivid itself is the expression of the idea of benity. It's a way of understanding benity as pure grammar, just a way of expressing yourself and expressing your ideas about the future in such a way that you're portraying the future as the happy ending to the benity that is the story of your life. Not just one story, but every story in your life. Dozens of stories going on all the time, and some are just getting started and some are nearing completion, but guess what? Hard work pays off. And so here's yet another happy ending, and next week there'll be another happy ending. Every paycheck you deposit is easy to look at as the happy ending to yet another chapter in your life. Hard work pays off. And this connects to the ideas of art, taking the benity of real life to the benity of art by making it plain that you will not persuade people by yelling at them about what they're getting wrong. No one was ever scolded or scorned into better behavior. But you can get them to adopt better ideas and better habits over time in the art that you make, in the form of show, don't tell. In other words, if you imagine all of those motivational posters hanging in offices and factory floors all over the world, those are all expressions of the future more vivid. They're all metaphors that express the idea that hard work pays off, but they all tend to be preachy and condescending and entirely too brief, and they really don't sell the argument. They just make it. In a work of art, you can sell the idea that hard work pays off. You can sell it every which way you can address it, every different kind of hard work you can think of. You can show how that hard work pays off, and in that way you can persuade people not once, but again and again and again and again, that if you will work, you will win. If you will have worked, you will have won. If you will have worked all along, you will have won in the end. Hard work pays off. How do you convince people that better results are possible in their lives? You show them how it's done. That's all I have for this week. I'm so glad you're there. I want to remind you that hard work on these ideas will pay off for you. So if you push them upstream to get more and more people talking about them, the better results you'll achieve. If you will have worked now and in the future, you will win in the end because hard work does pay off. I'm proof, your kids are proof. The world around you is proof. If you want to persuade your neighbors of that fact, don't tell them, show them. I'll continue to do that with you. Bless you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you next week.